Mr. Trump, is that how you see it? The Republicans simply didn't act. The president was doing everything he could?
Well, it certainly hasn't been reported that way over the last, if you think about it, 6 years. I mean, he's very aloof, and he doesn't deal with people, and he's a bad leader, and he can't get people into the room and, you know, twist their wrists, as the expression goes, and get them to make a deal, like a Lyndon Johnson used to do, like so many other people used to do, like Ronald Reagan used to do with O'Neill and others. You know, you get them in a room and you make a deal.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly he has not been able to do that, and now he has to use executive action. And this is a very, very dangerous thing that should be overwritten easily by the Supreme Court, but you have a Justice Roberts who, frankly, what he did with Obamacare turned out to be wrong because the tax is the tax, and, you know, all of those things. That came out loud and clear with Gruber's statement. So Justice Roberts was absolutely wrong. But so you have, you know, a wild card appointed by President Bush, Roberts, which was another disaster given by President Bush. This was a total catastrophe. Obamacare should have been over. So we're looking now at a situation should absolutely not pass muster in terms of constitutionality, but depends on what these justices do.
Sure. Mr. Trump, great to have you here this morning. What do you think the Republicans' next move should be? Is it shutting the government down? Is it refusing nominations? Where can they go very wrong, and where can they go quite right?
So, Elizabeth, I've been watching the Democrats play poker for the last 4 years, actually. And I'd say let's give the benefit of the first two. But for the last 4 years, and listening to them say, oh, he'd love to be impeached. He'd love to be impeached. He'd love to see the government shut down. You know, whenever it comes to something like the catastrophe that just happened with executive action. He'd love to see all the Democrats. I mean, they must be coached. They must go to school for this. He'd love to be impeached. Please impeach him. It would be so good for the Democrats. Please shut down the government. It would be so good for Obama. That's what they want, shut down the government. What a lot of crap. Because all what they're doing, they're actually talking the Republicans into not doing it. Do you think Obama seriously wants to be impeached and go through what Bill Clinton did? He would be a mess. He would be thinking about nothing but it would be a horror show for him. It would be an absolute embarrassment. It would go down on his record permanently. But they're saying, oh, he'd love to be impeached. That would be so good. And the Republicans are all saying, oh, we'd never impeach him. We'd never impeach him because he'd like that.
Well,
and the Republicans, and I'm a Republican, and the Republicans are saying, on the other hand, about the other shutting down the government. Look, they supposedly did a weak effort to shut down the government, and the Republicans just had one of the greatest triumphs they've ever had last week. So that's how
Donald, has the president done something worthy of impeachment, and should he be impeached?
Well, he certainly did something that was unconstitutional. Now, depends on Justice Roberts if he wants to just curry favor in the Beltway like he did with Obamacare, because that's the only reason he did it, because he knows he was wrong. But it certainly depends on what happens. I mean, I think certainly he could be impeached, and certainly they could shut down the government. Remember, Peter, they said if you shut down the government, well, they did a very, very weak job of shutting down the government. But if it was shut down, it wouldn't be shut down for long. What he did is unbelievable, what he was able to do. And in the meantime, people are pouring in through, you know, he did the one executive action. He did the executive order. But he also, at the same time, people are pouring in to the country. There's no stopping them. Now, with those people, you'll have sick people, you'll have gang members coming in, you'll have some really bad dudes coming in, and you may even have the ISIS start coming in. Why should they go the normal route? They go over to Mexico and they just pour in. Yeah. Now, they could never get into Mexico because Mexico is one of the toughest countries in the world. But Mexico sends them our way, despite the fact that Mexico is making a fortune off the United States, an absolute fortune off the United States. You know, and I told you last week, Mexico is one of the hardest countries to get to be a citizen of Mexico. I don't think I could do it. Of course, perhaps I couldn't do a lot of countries, frankly. But I don't think if I wanted to become a citizen of Mexico, which, by the way, I don't think I could get there. So, you know, Mexico's impossible, and yet they just railroad people right through Mexico. Come on in, borders. I think it must be an industry in Mexico. I actually think they get money for doing it. They get fees or something.
Well, they do send a lot of money home. One of the president's sharpest critics on immigration reform, Ted Cruz, he's going to join us in about 20 minutes. Right. Rudy's up next. You know, Mr. Trump, one of the things that the president said yesterday was a little insulting, I think. If I was Hillary Clinton and I heard the president say this